We're going to begin our GameMaker tutorial by creating an Apple object. First, we need to use a sprite, and a sprite is just a small graphic that will be used in the Apple object. And if you click on the red Pac-Man icon, that will allow you to create a sprite. And we're actually going to load a sprite that's included in our tutorials. And if you browse to the tutorial 1 folder, you should see a graphic called Apple. If you switch to the thumbnail views, you can actually see what the apple looks like. We'll click and choose that for our sprite. Because this is the graphic for the object and not the object itself, we need to rename the sprite to indicate that it's the sprite for the apple. A lot of people skip this step, and later on it will become confusing if you have a lot of sprites and a lot of objects to try to figure out what is what. So always rename the sprite to something that indicates what it's the sprite for. And I'm just going to call this one Sprite Apple. Notice I use the underscore instead of a space between the sprite and the word Apple. Later, if you get into GameMaker Studio and using the GameMaker language, you'll find that using spaces in the names of your sprites and objects creates problems. So get in the habit of avoiding spaces when you're naming stuff in GameMaker. So once you have it named, hit OK, and over in your left column you should see under the sprites category the Apple sprite. We're going to actually create the Apple object itself. There's a blue circle at the top of the screen in the menu bar. We're going to click on that, and this allows us to control the object properties. So we're creating an object, and again this is going to be our Apple object, so I'm going to rename this to Object Apple. And then for the sprite, there's a little icon you can click on. We'll give you the list of sprites that you've created, and so far we've only created one, so we'll choose the sprite for the apple, and we'll click OK. And now you should see in the left column you have the Apple sprite and the object, Apple object. So to actually use this Apple object in a game, we need a room, and we're actually going to create a room with 4 walls. So again, we'll need to create a sprite for the walls. So we'll load a sprite that's included with our tutorial. It's called Wall, and again I'm renaming it Sprite Wall. Then I'm going to click on the blue circle icon, create an object icon, and I'm going to name the object Wall and use the Wall sprite. At this point I want to make this wall solid so that later on when we put the apple in the room, it will bounce off the wall. You'll see that in a later step.